Sure, I'll read the story from the book, and it's a story that I call You Are My Friends. It's been about 10 minutes, so if you want to nod off or make a cup of tea, that's fine. I usually wake up to the Today programme on BBC Radio 4. On the morning of the 15th of March last year, I woke up to the news of terrible events in Christchurch, New Zealand. A young man had walked into two mosques during Friday prayers. He was carrying 5 guns. He'd carefully decorated them with Tipex, with slogans and symbols representing white supremacy. He shot 51 people dead, wounded 49 others. Then he got in his car and set off for a third location. He was arrested before he got there. Now, Christchurch is known as a fairly tranquil city in a relatively peaceful country. It's about 12,000 miles from Manchester, where I live. I've never been there, and I don't suppose I ever will, but my first thought when I heard the bulletin was that if this could happen in Christchurch, it could happen anywhere. I wondered how people who gather for Friday prayers at my local mosque in Levenshulme might feel this morning. Angry, mistrustful, afraid. I couldn't stop thinking about them all morning. At about 11:30, people would be leaving work and heading towards the mosque for Friday prayers. I thought I would walk there too. I wasn't sure why, I just felt like I wanted to be with them. But as I was leaving the house, I wondered what on earth I would do when I got there. I thought I might look a bit silly just standing in the road and grinning. So I grabbed a piece of cardboard, an old file hanger, and I wrote a message on it. You are my friends. I will watch while you pray. I read it back to myself. The idea of watching while someone else prayed sounded a bit creepy. So I stuck a piece of paper over it and tried again. You are my friends. I will keep watch while you pray. That was better. Then I set off. When I got to the mosque, people were starting to arrive. I stood outside with my sign. It's a big mosque with several hundred worshippers. I was struck by how much of a rush people were in as they arrived, just like my own church, I thought, with people hurrying in during the first hymn. Some looked a bit wary when they saw me standing by the entrance. Perhaps they wondered if I was some kind of protester or an evangelist hoping to convert them. When they saw my card, some of them smiled, but most just walked straight past me. I stayed at the gate for about an hour and a half until people started to leave. When the worshippers came out, everyone wanted to shake my hand and thank me and share salam with me. Someone even took a photo of me with my cardboard sign. It turned out that the imam had seen me as he walked into the mosque and had mentioned me in his sermon. For a day that had started with such bleak news, it was a lovely atmosphere. A man outside the mosque was cooking chicken biryani and he gave me a tinfoil box full of it. So that felt like a win. Then I toddled off home to get on with my day. The man who took the photo uploaded it to our community website with a message saying, "Who is this guy?" As the day went on, I discovered that the picture was being shared widely on the internet and not just on our local Facebook page, not only in the UK either, but around the world. I started to get messages by email and Twitter from strangers. At first, I replied to each message as they came in. Then they started coming faster and faster. By the end of the afternoon, they were coming so fast I couldn't even keep up with reading them. Besides the messages, there were likes and retweets and Facebook posts, literally millions of them, all sharing the picture, the one you can see behind me. By tea time, I was starting to realize that I'd gone, if not viral, then at least fungal. I didn't post anything on social media myself, though my daughter posted a nice message saying she was proud of me. But in the next few hours, my picture was shared and retweeted with warm messages from the weirdest range of people, from Jada Pinkett Smith through to Monica Lewinsky. And the snowball kept rolling down the hill faster and faster. Within a few hours, I was getting messages from journalists and radio and TV presenters in every country you could imagine, from Turkey and Egypt and Bangladesh. Who was I? Why had I done this? Would I be prepared to give an interview? I had to decide quickly how I was going to respond. I thought the best thing was to roll with it. So I made a decision that I would say yes to everyone except Piers Morgan. And that's what I did. On Saturday, I did interviews back to back by phone, by Skype, in TV studios. When Saturday evening came, I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking it was over. But then Australia and New Zealand woke up and started getting in touch. The attacks were in New Zealand and the attacker had come from Australia. Perhaps the greatest privilege of all was to speak to the people of Christchurch, New Zealand, via their local TV and radio stations. I was able to say that we in Manchester know something about what they were feeling because we've had our own share of atrocities, but that we also know that friendship can overcome fear. On Monday, I had a message of thanks from the Prime Minister of New Zealand, the wonderful Jacinda Ardern. The Secretary General of the United Nations mentioned me in a speech about reconciliation, and so did a minister from the UK Foreign Office. Over the next few days, I received in excess of 50,000 individual messages. They came from almost every country in the world, from Hollywood to Hyderabad. The photo was copied tens of millions of times. In 24 hours, my Twitter followers went up from about 3,000 to over 15,000. Now, usually I regret about 1 in 3 of my tweets, but I realized I would need to start being more careful what I said. I'd become the subject of sermons and school assemblies and radio phone-ins. The responses were overwhelmingly positive, although there were a few unpleasant ones. I was raised in the Scottish Parliament as an example of the need for social media platforms to censor abusive messages, though to this day I haven't been able to find the abusive messages people were referring to. 1 or 2 people asked what exactly I was planning to do if a gunman had approached the mosque. To be honest, I hadn't really thought about that. Armed with a file hanger and a flat cap, I made a pretty inadequate vigilante, but the point was to be there, and everyone visiting the mosque seemed to understand that. Amongst the negative messages, one common complaint was, "Are you going to stand guard outside every mosque in the world then?" To which my answer was, "No, I'll stand outside my local mosque and you stand outside yours." Indeed, people from other cities around the world started to send me pictures of themselves standing outside mosques in their own cities, some of them with signs saying, "You are my friends. I will keep watch while you pray." One lovely old couple in Reading had even written their sign on an old file hanger, as if that was a key part of the plot. Another common message in the negative pile was, you wouldn't find Muslims protecting churches if it was the other way round. But in fact, the following month, when a church in Sri Lanka was attacked by a Muslim gunman, groups from mosques all around the world did just that, standing outside their local churches in solidarity. My family will confirm that I was bemused by the whole experience. The whole thing was unplanned, unexpected, and completely disproportionate. The simple message I'd tried to pass on is that friendship overcomes fear. Hatred doesn't generate itself, it's a byproduct of fear, fear of someone just a bit different from me. Some of the stuff that happened was a bit bizarre. A woman from Essex knitted a puppet of me holding my sign. An artist in Dorset painted me in oils. A man in New Zealand drew a cartoon picture of me on the side of a paper cup and sent it to me. The picture was particularly big in Turkey, apparently, and a generous guy there offered to ship me over so that he could buy me a drink. A Muslim dentist in the Midlands wrote to say that in gratitude for my actions, he would like to offer to whiten my teeth for free, which was a pretty backhanded compliment, really. I'm still reflecting on what has happened and is continuing to happen. I wasn't expecting to be interviewed on Voice of Islam radio or bad-mouthed by far-right groups or discussed on Loose Women. I'm aware that all the nice things that were said to me and about me, and all the not so nice things as well, were actually being addressed not to me personally, but to the action and what it symbolized. One of the themes to emerge from the tens of thousands of messages I received is that Muslims in the UK and elsewhere live with a mild but perpetual undercurrent of threat. It's like a buzzing in the ears, varying in intensity according to context, but requiring constant vigilance. Of course, others also live with similar kinds of anxiety. Perhaps we all do. Though, as a white middle class man in the UK, my threat level is almost inaudible. For others, it's like the relentless hum of tinnitus. Unwittingly, my tiny action and the message on my card seem to have suggested to people that I understood the impact of this level of persistent fear. The word Islamophobia suggests fear of Muslims, but the effect is to generate fear in Muslims. And both sides of this unholy equation need to be dealt with. What people seemed to respond to was an image of an ordinary looking bloke wearing a flat cap and a jumper doing something a bit transgressive. I jumped over the fence and gone onto my neighbour's territory. That was exactly what the Christchurch gunman had done, except that where he went with guns and hatred, I went open-handed and smiling. Some people thanked me for taking a risk. What risk? A small risk of rejection, perhaps. The possibility of being misunderstood. But you can't start a friendship of any kind without taking small risks. If I'd had any idea when I woke up that morning that my picture was going to be shared all around the world, I would at least have brushed my hair. It's nice when someone sends you a message saying, "You are a symbol of the world I want to live in." It's nice when someone shouts "hero" at you in the street or stops you in Asda and asks for a selfie. Nice, but also weird nice. I'm just trying to roll with it. Tomorrow, it'll all be forgotten. Probably.